Have you ever felt like history just repeats itself? Like the rise and fall of different societies isn't just random chaos, but maybe, just maybe, it's part of a pattern, a predictable cycle? Well, today we're diving into a text that not only maps out that cycle, but offers a radical blueprint for how to finally break it.
And this is where it all begins. This one sentence is the entire foundation. It's not a suggestion, it's a call to action. It's telling us to stop thinking in terms of me or us and start building for, well, for everyone.
So what is the cycle exactly? The central idea here is that society is never still. It's always in motion, evolving through 4 really distinct phases or eras. And the theory goes, if you can actually understand this pattern, you can start to see a way out.
I mean, just try to picture it. The earliest days of humanity. You're not worried about your career or the stock market, you're worried about surviving the day. In a world full of dangers, only one thing really gave you an edge: brute strength.
This whole cycle is basically a story of power changing hands. First, you have the Kshatriya era. This is the age of the warrior, where the strongest rule. But people get tired of being ruled by muscle, so they start to value brains over brawn. That ushers in the Vipra era, the age of the intellectual, the thinkers. Then power shifts again, this time to the Vaishya, the merchants, the capitalists, who figure out how to master wealth. But, according to this theory, that era always leads to massive exploitation, which eventually sparks a Shudra revolution. The workers rise up, and boom, the whole cycle starts all over again.
And this is where it gets really personal. The text argues that we are living deep inside that Vaishya era right now. And look at the language it uses. Cunning capitalists have built a fragile nest. The idea is that a system built only on making money is fundamentally unstable. It's a house of cards, just waiting for a gust of wind.
So here's the big question, right? Are we just stuck on this hamster wheel forever, or can we figure out what's causing this endless loop of conflict and actually build something better, something that works for everyone, not just whoever's on top at the moment? The text says we can, but first, we got to get a few things straight.
So where's the first crack in the foundation? According to this philosophy, it's a huge misunderstanding between what morality is and what dogmatic religion is. It argues they're not just different, they're polar opposites. One sets us free, and the other, well, it puts us in a cage.
Just look at this comparison. On one side, you have morality, which is described as this living, breathing force based on reason. It's all about growth, connection, and universalism. But on the other side, you have dogmatic religion, which is presented as a fixed set of rules. It discourages questions, divides people into us and them, and ultimately makes them easier to exploit.
Wow. I mean, this quote really says it all, doesn't it? It's this incredibly bold statement that says truth is based on reason, not on authority. It doesn't matter who says it, a child, a king, even a god. If it doesn't make sense, you have the right, even the duty, to question it.
Now, this deep commitment to reason flows right into the next major problem the text tackles: our education system. The argument is pretty blunt. Education has mostly become a business, and it's forgotten its real job, which is to build character and make people fall in love with learning for its own sake.
So what makes a great teacher? Well, it's not just about having a bunch of degrees. According to this, a true teacher has to be a role model. They need integrity, a genuine desire to serve society, and that special spark that inspires people. They're not just teaching you facts, they're showing you how to be a better human.
Think about it. How many of us studied just to pass a test? We crammed facts into our heads out of fear of failing. This approach says that's totally backward. True education should light a fire in you, make you curious, make you want to know more. Because knowledge you learn through fear disappears the second the test is over.
And of course, education doesn't start on the first day of school. It starts at home. The real foundation is built by parents. Their job is to model things like honesty and good judgment, and to create a home that feels safe and loving. That's where a child's moral compass is truly set.
Okay, so we've looked at the diagnosis: a society stuck in a loop, confusion over morality, and a broken education system. So now for the good part. Let's talk about the vision for a cure, a totally new way of thinking about justice.
The heart of this new society is this idea of coordinated cooperation. It sounds a little academic, but it's simple. It means we stop thinking in terms of boss and worker, master and servant. Instead, we build a society where everyone is treated like a respected partner working together toward a common goal.
But how do you get there? The text looks at 3 different approaches. It says Gandhiism, with its purely peaceful appeals, is beautiful but often powerless against those who have no conscience. On the flip side, communism's use of pure brute force just ends up crushing the human spirit. So it proposes a middle path. You start with reason, with appeals to our better nature, but if that doesn't work, you're not afraid to apply force to create the pressure needed for real, lasting change. And this is probably the most radical idea in the whole framework. It says that the resources of this planet, the land, the air, the water, they don't belong to any one person or any one country. They are the common inheritance of every single human being. And because of that, they must be shared fairly to make sure everyone's basic needs are met, period. So this brings us to the final and, honestly, the most hopeful part of this whole thing. It's one thing to criticize the old world, but it's another thing to build a new one. And more importantly, how do we become the kind of people who can build it?
Here's the catch, and it's a big one. You can't force someone to change their heart. You can force them to change their behavior, sure, but real, deep transformation has to come from the inside. You can't beat someone into becoming a more loving person. It just doesn't work that way.
So the text lays out a kind of personal roadmap. It all starts with an emotion, a genuine love for humanity. From there, you deepen that feeling through spiritual practices, sadhana, that help expand your mind. As your inner world gets bigger and richer, you'll find that your desire for just stuff starts to fade, and it's replaced by a hunger for psychic and spiritual growth. And the final destination? A truly universal outlook, where you see every person as part of your family.
And at the end of the day, it all boils down to this. You can forget all the theories and all the jargon. The one thing you absolutely need, the real engine for all of this change, is sympathy. The ability to look at another person and feel for them, truly and deeply.
I love this metaphor. It so perfectly captures the spirit of this vision. In this new society, it doesn't matter if your contribution is huge, like moving a boulder, or tiny, like a squirrel collecting a pebble. Every single effort, when done with a sincere heart, is seen as equally valuable and equally important.
And that's where we'll leave it, with a question that takes this massive, world-changing philosophy and brings it right back home. Because if a better world really does start with a change of heart, then that collective change can only begin with an individual one. It begins with us. So, the question is, where does that change begin for you?